Really nice to meet you. I had a chance to see this at South by last year. Been thinking about it a lot since. I want to start very technically because I'm big on time loops and parallel universes and time travel, all that kind of thing, and just the rules. And so I'd love to know what are your frameworks for this is like the way that this should work if it was real.
Well, what we loved about getting into a multiverse story was the opportunity to try and tell a kind of a more intimate version of it, right? Like we loved the idea of if there really are an infinite amount of universes, truly infinite, then so many of them would be so similar to our own life, our own world. The differences be infinitely small. It'd be just these tiny, little tiny details throughout. So that was a really exciting thing for us to explore. Like, what if instead of telling a story where every universe is so wildly different and you're reaching your most wild goals, or it's some wild what if scenario where the Confederates won the war or something like that. What if we just told something where it all felt so similar and so identical, and then what story can be bred from that? So I feel like there's a million ideas that we keep throwing around of how to deal with that kind of look at the multiverse. And this is the one that really grabbed us the most, was this story about, a woman who lost her child and is insanely frustrated when she goes into these identical universes, only to find there's never circumstances that really change that.
You have any cinematic or literary, inspiration for the framework rather than the actual narrative itself?
I mean, really, it was just I think we were trying to think of like, what's the way to simplify this the most? And what's the way to make this uh, really easy to process for the audience? And I think oftentimes in multiverse stories, it is this sort of like anything's possible. And it's almost like hard to wrap your head around because it's so expansive. And the way we thought about it, we're like, there'd probably be a discoverable universe. There'd probably be the closest things to this universe, probably the easiest ones to access, which made sense to us. And so you'd be going through, but if you crank that dial all the way up, then you got to the wildest, biggest differences. It would probably be, primordial Earth, or the planet would be like every other planet, or, and so the idea of, well, there's a discovered universe, and that is like what is pre-programmed, dialed into her machine, and she's going from universe to universe to universe in a sort of linear way of the way that these machines have been constructed. And that just seemed to kind of make sense for us to keep it really simple and a kind of a process that felt sort of intuitive, hopefully for the audience.
But it also reminded me of a very different film from South by Omni Loop, where the character has been through so many iterations that she can't even remember how much she's done and might have even forgotten certain circumstances. And I think that's the feeling we get from this film, that like this has been going on theoretically forever and time doesn't really mean anything anymore because it's not possible to figure out like when did this all start and when it got to the point where she just said, I have to keep doing this because I can't do anything else.
Yeah, yeah, she's totally lost track of how often she's been doing this. And there was we had some debates for, you know, how long should she be doing this, and should we ever put a fine point on that for our audience, or should we keep it a little bit more mysterious? And we decided to go more mysterious, but it's there's a version of this where Irene's character, she could have been an 80-year-old woman doing this for the last 50 years or whatever. It would have been an interesting kind of play as well. So I think there's many more stories that could be told in this sort of fashion of, if you're just stuck in these similar universes with this one thing you're trying to look for, how many universes would you go to?
Where car keys work, extend beyond the different universes. I feel like that's it's clever enough. It's you have to believe it, but I like it because it's not easy. It's like it could work, but it also presents enough of a challenge that it's annoying.
Yeah, yeah. There initially was a monologue in there where she, because we wrote this about 10 years ago before the multiverse craze happened. So there was a whole description of how the multiverse even worked. And part of that description was essentially describing her superpower, which is like they're so similar that oftentimes keys work in adjacent universes, but so do Wi-Fi passwords and all these other things. So that's sort of her superpower, that when we took that monologue out, it was nice not to have the exposition, but now people have to pick up on the context clues that that's exactly how it works. So, her stealing the Penske rental truck key box at some point has been paying dividends, universe to universe to universe. So it's that was one of the fun kind of mundane superpowers that she has.
Talk to me about the physical mode of transport in this coffin-like box that can sort of steam out DeLorean style from place to place.
That was a
Yeah,
fun thing to develop. Yeah. Oh yeah, you go ahead again.
yeah, it's one of the things that we really loved about it was like, again, trying to go as practical as possible and, build out this machine that we really liked. And there's the practical side of it, like in story, how does she get this thing around anywhere? And it was a great joy to put just a big handcart under it. Like, what a clunky way to get something around. There's nothing sexy about a handcart, but it just felt right. But then the action of actually seeing it go through one multiverse to another was a fun part of the process too. We imagine it like, it drops a few inches after a little explosion. So how can we do that practically? And Richie, our head of special effects, put hydraulics in the multiverse machine itself, so it can actually lift remotely and then drop down on itself, which was super fun. And of course, we're doing that over and over for all these different scenes. And there's a squib that goes on underneath it to create a nice flash and some smoke and all that jazz. And by the time we got later into the movie, the hydraulics busted at some point. So we were in the middle of a scene. We had limited time. We drilling the thing back together. It worked for the scene. And then eventually we're like, we need a new way to do this. So Richie came up with a super high-tech way to fix it. He essentially put Dixie cups under it and rested it on ever so slightly, and then used a fishing line to collapse the Dixie cups all at the same time. A couple guys pulled it on either end, and boom, it came down, and it worked like gangbusters. I honestly think that worked even better than the hydraulics did. But yeah, it was really fun getting to come up with these different ways to utilize the machine and see how it all will work.
I like that. I am curious, of course, where you found your lead actresses. I feel like you have a long-standing relationship with one of them, and I said to her, I was like, you wouldn't think that siblings who get along well enough to work together on a project like this and clearly have a positive relationship would make something quite so dark and brutal together.
Yeah, no, it was really special to do it with Michaela. I mean, she's, obviously we've been making movies together since we were little kids, but they've always been a bit dark. The first one we made was a movie called A Bloodthirsty Killer. I'm not sure if she told you about that one, but it's doesn't get darker than that, let me tell you. It's been a lot of fun working with her and getting to do this with her, and then finding Stella felt like a miracle because it's such a difficult role. She is carrying so much of the movie. She's carrying the levity of the movie and also so much the emotionality. It's not easy, and this is her first movie she's ever done. And I still pinch myself that we found her, and the fact that her relationship with Michaela was so easy and so organic, and it felt like right out the gate they had this sort of surrogate mother daughter relationship, on camera and off screen as well. And so yeah, we're very very lucky.
I feel like South by is the perfect place to launch this kind of film. I'm somebody who's not into horror, but like gore or death, or especially multiverse, all that kind of stuff, definitely very appealing. So tell me about the experience of screening it to that very, I'm sure, receptive audience.
Yeah, I mean, South by is the best. It's we had the good fortune of our first feature getting to screen there, and it's always it felt like kind of coming home in a lot of ways, getting to bring Redux Redux back to Austin, back to that crowd. It's such a special place, and it's become such a mega film festival to be able to launch your movie from and sell your movie, and hope that even a bigger audience will be able to see it by virtue of screening there. So we're so grateful to the folks at South by for screening it. And yeah, that whole experience was a blast. Exactly what you want to be. I mean, the first screening, you're white knuckling, hoping people are going to like it, right? There's always that nervous energy going into it. But then you finally settle in, and yeah, the audiences are really like no one else.
The problem with the film like this, with so many infinite possibilities and so much mystery, is that I know I want more, and I'm sure audiences want more, but I feel like it's a closed loop. Like there's no more to this specific story, or is there?
It's a good question. It's something we certainly talk about all the time. One of our favorite things you see in science fiction movies is when they you've got the first movie, and the next one is sort of a new take on it with different characters. I love that about the Animatrix. It's one of my favorite versions of that, where you're like, I just want to experience people in this world and see what other people are doing there. That's really exciting to us. But there are other characters that we talk about in this movie that we go, that'd be kind of interesting to follow that character for a little while as well. So who knows? Maybe someday we'll return to the multiverse. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Any audience response from South by or elsewhere that really surprised you?
That's a really good question. Yeah, it's funny. It's the whole experience, of course, is is revealing, right? Like I remember with our first movie when we would screen it, we knew there's a joke right in the beginning within the first minute. It's a coming of age comedy, dark comedy. We're like, if that joke lands with the crowd, it's going to be a good screening. If it doesn't, it's going to be a bad screening. That was always the way, right? So it was what was really fun about this movie was seeing how audiences reacted and seeing the engagement depending on the audience. So an audience like the Fantasia Film Festival is always electric. They're always like there for it. They are ready to enjoy the film and they let you hear it. You get all those wonderful audibles. But the one that was really surprising in terms of a screening was when we were at Citrus at that film festival out there. It's a fantastic film festival. It was so much fun to be there. And it was a massive theater. It was 1,400 people. And the thing I found so enjoyable about watching it with that crowd was that there is every level of applause every time someone dies. And it's like almost like you get the big applause when they're really into it, or you get like a quiet golf clapping when they're appreciating it. It's like no kill will go without some kind of audience reaction. So yeah, every step of the way was fun to watch it with different audiences and see how they react.
You feel like you wanted to have any sort of sensitivity with the creative kills, or that was sort of just like a way of Irene indulging this pain that she has, that she's just going to do whatever she needs to do, and sort of the more brutal, the more satisfying and haunting in some way.
She's so scrappy, right? Because she's not a trained killer, right? She's not John Wick. So even when we were doing gun training and that kind of thing and choreography, we're talking to stunt guys, and we're like, we don't want her holding it perfectly the way John Wick would hold it, right? The gun or any of the weapons. We want it to feel a little bit sloppier, where she has figured out her best way to work. So it's a found talent of hers, something that she's had to really learn by doing it herself. So that was a really fun thing to see. And part of what makes her successful is her brutality, her willingness to go there. She's not relishing in it. There'll always be another chance to kill him. There's never any catharsis, and I think that hopefully comes through with each one of the kills. She doesn't look like she's satisfied in it. But a lot of those kills can be pretty brutal, and it led to my favorite day on the film shoot, which was we had one extra day with Jeremy Holm, who plays Neville, the killer, and he doesn't live in Los Angeles where we shot. So we were like, oh, we got one extra day. We got to take advantage of this. So Matt and I flipped a coin. One of us had to direct the actual movie, and the other guy got to be in what we call the kill room, where he just killed Jeremy over and over and over and over again. So I won the coin toss, and I got to hang out in the kill room the whole day. And Hugo Villaseñor, who's this amazing makeup artist, did all these effects, and I wouldn't even know what the effect was going to be. Jeremy and Hugo would run off, they'd put some gnarly effect on it, and they'd show up, and we'd find out what it was in the moment. And Marcella DeLuna, who was our production manager, was the stunt double for Irene for Michaela, because she's filming the actual movie. So a lot of those close-ups where you get those quick snap kills of Jeremy, that was all happening in the kill room with Marcella killing him over and over again. And yeah, the brutality was the point, right? We were really going for it. So it was a real joy putting that whole set together.
Well, in advance of you exploring some of these, side plots for future projects, what is next for the two of you?
We'll see. We've got a couple projects in development right now that lean more horror, which is exciting. We're big horror fans, and we'd love to make a true blue horror film. And there's a lot that is this kind of grounded science fiction uh, arena, which is another just thing that's very close to our hearts. We just love telling character stories in these kind of fantastical genres, and I hope we get to keep doing that. So I hope not too long we'll be back in the director's seat and delivering another one.
I like to ask everyone I speak to, what's something you've seen recently that's really sticking with you? And I'm hoping for something a little out of the box from you guys after Redux Redux. What's something that I probably haven't seen that I should check out?
Something. Let me.
Great question.
I'm gonna look up my top movies recently to try and do a deep cut. I mean,
That's
That's the
that's
way
a
to
lot.
do it.
I don't think anything is super deep cut. One movie that I absolutely adored last year from South by Southwest was It Ends, which hasn't released yet. But man, it is a tremendous movie. I found it moving and fun and inventive. And it's made by this filmmaker, Alex Allum, who's an amazing filmmaker who I think has really big things coming. He's already teed up to do his next film with Neon. So keep an eye out for that one because I think that's going to really blow everyone away.
Yeah, that one is fantastic. Touch Me is another movie that I thought was phenomenal. Ugh, Addison Hyman's a really talented guy, and I just adored that movie. And then in a movie that is a movie that came out forever ago, but it's funny when you make movies and you start reading reviews or talking to people and they go, "Hey, your movie really reminded me of this other thing." And so people kept telling us, it reminded them of I Saw the Devil. They'd tell me the premise, and I thought, "Oh yeah, I want to check this thing out." And so I actually just watched it recently. And man, it was fucking phenomenal. So brutal, so tough. But if you're a Revenge fan, it's an absolute must.
Some stuff to check out. I appreciate the Touch Me call out. That's one that I feel like was, as it should, sort of flew under the radar. That should not have been a mainstream hit. I don't think it was ever destined for that, but it was quite a delight. So thank you guys. This was a lot of fun. I'm very excited for the world to see Redux Redux. And even though I'm not typically into horror, I'll follow you guys to whatever you do next. So good luck with
Hell
that, and
yeah.
thanks so much.
Thanks so
Thanks so
much.
much, man. Really appreciate it. Thanks for spreading the word.